Alright, welcome back to episode 18 of my Dodge Raider rebuild project. It's been about a week or so it's time to get another video up. I'm not really at a natural breaking point in between projects. Still continuing to wire the engine in the engine bay. But it's been a week or so I want to get this up and let you know what we've been up to. I started out this week by working on the interior, continuing to work on the interior, put the roll bar in, and the rear carpet and some of the rear panels. Alright, we're working on these carpet covers for the rear fender wells. And I bought some snaps. We're going to go ahead and attach some snaps so that I can attach this carpet to the original snap spots. Not a big deal. These things come with a little mechanism here to attach it to the material. So it'll go pretty quick. We'll get the two fender wells covered, and then we'll work on the center section. I have to work on a bolt up here for the seat. The seat bolt broke off, so I got to drill that out. But we're just continuing to move forward on this interior. See, there you go. Attach a snap to it. You just punch a hole through the material. You attach the top cover and the ring on the bottom, and then when you whack it with a hammer on a punch, it opens up the rivet, connects the two. Alright, so I've been kind of torn about putting this roll cage back into the car. You know, on the one hand, I think it looks cool. I think it's a period correct item that you won't see very often because they're kind of hard to put in. And it is a little bit safer if you ever want to go off-roading and you roll the car. It definitely adds some strength. The downside is it takes away from the stock look a little bit. It takes a little bit of room out of the interior and makes it feel just slightly more cramped. However, this is not going to be a daily driver. It's going to be kind of a toy, so I don't know. I like the idea of having the roll cage in there, so I think I'm going to leave it. If I don't like it later, it's going to be a little bit of a hassle to get back out, but you know, I think I'm going to leave it. It doesn't intrude too bad. It takes a little bit of the room out of the interior, but I think it's not bad. And in some ways, it kind of looks cool. Makes the rig look a little tougher. Alright, we're just wrapping up the snaps on this front piece of carpet. It'll wrap around here and snap to the back side, and then this back piece comes up and over it. And then the back seat covers all of that. Just got done putting in the roll bar. Looks pretty nice. Painted it up, and it looks pretty sharp in here. And then busted out the carpet cleaner and spent some time cleaning up the rear seat. It was actually in pretty good shape. Once I scoured it with a concoction of soap that I come across and used the furniture attachment for my rug doctor, it came out looking really nice. So I installed the seat, and I have a couple of things I have to work on with the rear seat. I'm missing a couple of small brackets for the rear seat belts. They attach to the floor right behind the seat. I don't have those brackets, so I'm gonna have to make a couple of them. All right, I'm cleaning up this rear seat. This rear seat's in actually pretty good shape. I'm not gonna recover it. I'm gonna clean it with some cleaner and scrub it down, and then use the carpet cleaner. I've got an upholstery attachment for my carpet cleaner. And this is kind of a formula I found online. Here's the 3 ingredients for the cleaner. I read a guy on YouTube, or I watched a guy on YouTube who cleans interiors for a living, and you mix 6 ounces of this OxyClean Max Force, 6 ounces of Dawn Platinum, and 6 ounces of isopropyl alcohol into a spray bottle, and then add hot water. And that's supposed to deal with any stains you come across: gum, tar, ink, pet stains, whatever is on your upholstery. So what you do is you spray it on, scrub it, let it sit for a few minutes, and then use either a shop vac or a rug doctor to suck it all up. All right, we're finished with this rear seat, and it turned out really nice. That concoction of soaps definitely took out most of the stains and tar and glue and whatnot, and it looks almost like a brand new seat. I did find a cigarette burn right here that was covered up with glue. So they had glued that over, and it actually looked okay. I thought it was just gum. Well, that concoction of soaps did take off the glue, and there is a little black hole there now. So I'm going to have to patch that. But other than that, all the stains that it had came out, and it looks really nice. So I'm not going to have to do anything further with this seat. I'm just going to dry it out, and we'll put this in the back of the car. Alright, so we're going to repair this cigarette burn. Like I mentioned, I thought this was a gum stain, so I worked on it with that cleaner, and it ended up being a cigarette burn that they had repaired. So the poor man's repair for a cigarette burn is to shave or cut some material from an inconspicuous place. For example, I'm going to shave and cut some of the material from behind this zipper. And what you want to do is cut enough of that and come up with enough shavings and fluff that you can cover this hole with some super glue. So we'll lay down some super glue, and then we'll put some shavings of the same color material on top of it to try to blend it in. Now this is a rather big burn hole, so it's probably still going to be noticeable, but it'll look okay. The other alternative to repair is to buy a kit that comes with various colors of patches and wool fibers, or cotton fibers, and you try to match the best you can the color. The likelihood of finding this material is pretty small because it's such an old material. It's from the 80s. I'm not even sure what they call it. It's a plush, but it's got that checkered brown and tan pattern going on. So we're going to work on this now. Okay, I glued on the shavings from the material I cut, and it's fairly obvious now. However, once this dries, I will brush it, and the top layer will kind of come off, and it will still look noticeable, but it will look better than a cigarette burn. Anyway, that's kind of the idea, to repair patch a cigarette burn. Alright, I'm putting the speakers in. I'm going to wait to put the speaker cover on this side because I ordered some new seatbelt webbing in tan, and what I'm going to do is pull this all the way out, and I'm going to sew the new webbing from here all the way to the end, leaving the mechanism where it's at. because I have to replace this shredded webbing here for the driver's side seat belt. But in order to work on that, I'm going to wait to finish putting this interior piece together so I can get to it. Boy, this seat's kind of heavy. These tracks bolt down in 3 spots, one up front, one right here, and one right here. And they bolt to holes. You can't see, it's too dark, but under the carpet, right here and right here. Okay, we have the rear seat installed. You can see here this is a folding seat. It folds up and out of the way if you want to put a box or some kind of cargo in the back. And then you just have a lever right down here to unlatch it. Can't do this with one-handed. Let me put it up here on the sticks. All right, and to lower the seat, you just hit this lever. It drops right down. Hey, pretty cool. Got the seat installed. The roll bar's not in the way. You can still open the windows and yell at people when you're driving. Throw stuff out. If you go mailbox hitting with your baseball bat or maybe M80s in the old mailbox routine. Cool. Pretty comfortable. I still have to figure out how to hook up these seat belts. I'm missing a bracket, it looks like. But I'll work on that next. Once I got the seat installed, I moved back to the engine compartment. I was kind of on hold with wiring the engine because I discovered the coil and the resistor were bad. The coil was leaking oil and the resistor had a big crack right down the middle of it. So I ordered a new coil and resistor, showed up pretty quick, and spent the last couple of days sorting out the wiring in the engine bay. A little bit tedious, but I do have the book that kind of lays out where all the wires go. So I'm muddling my way through it. Alright, beginning the process of wiring the whole front end of this engine, fixing to install this coil, and I noticed that it was leaking out the top. Coils are filled with oil, keeps them cool, and that's an indication that the coil is bad or going bad. And I also noticed a nice crack right alongside the resistor that's attached to the coil. So I had to stop the process of at least hooking up the coil and order a new one online. It's not very expensive, $17 or something like that, and a new resistor. Well, they just showed up today, so now I can get back. I was working on the interior. I can get back to wiring this engine. We're going to take apart this coil, attach the bracket to the new one, and keep moving forward. You can clearly see how this resistor is broken in half. Would have affected the way it works, definitely. There's the new coil and resistor ready to be put back on the car. Okay, spending some time studying the diagram for the engine wiring. This is out of the manual. It's pretty specific, and it's a pretty good resource. I'm starting to get a handle on where all the wires go. It has a wiring diagram as well as a description. And then it also has real specific grounding points, so you can study where each grounding point attaches to the motor, to the coil, etc., as well as fusible links. So I'm going to spend a little time inside just kind of going over all this before I begin hooking up all these wires. Because right now, it's kind of a jumbled mess still. I mean, I kind of know where everything goes, but you know, there's quite a few wires that I've got to clean up and then make sure I'm positioning in the right spot. It'll come together. Okay, we're working on the headlights right now and cleaning them up. I scoured the ring that goes around them, get some of the debris off of it. We're just working on this wiring up front, one step at a time, getting everything plugged back in. right. Now I don't have to worry about the left headlight. Rest of this project, I can rest assured that the left headlight is installed. One piece at a time here. We are slowly but surely puzzling everything back together. I've attached several wires here and there. I put the coil on. I put the windshield wiper motor on and wired that up. I put the negative ground cable to the motor and to the frame on. And I don't have a good list of which order to go in, so I'm just kind of picking my way through it. Right now I'm going to work on the power steering lines. And at some point I'm sure I'm going to have to backtrack like usual. You don't do things in a certain order and you end up getting in your own way, but I don't know, it's been so long since I took it apart I don't remember the order I took it apart in, so we're just going to keep playing with it here. It's fun. I just enjoy tinkering, so it's not a big deal. I don't have a customer breathing down my neck, so I can just take my time. So I took a bunch of pictures of the engine bay as I was taking the car apart. And so I'm referring back to my phone there and swiping through old photos to look at how everything goes back together, and that's been a big help as to how the routing of these pipes and wires, which one goes on first, is kind of apparent in the pictures I took. Alright, I'm just hooking up the lines to this power steering unit. Looked at a few photographs on my phone and figured out the routing, and it's all fitting together like a nice little puzzle. Well, I see there are a couple of O-rings right here and here. I'm going to go ahead and grab my O-ring kit and replace these. There's the top O-ring. This would be the high pressure side of the power steering pump, the one that bolts on. So you can either buy these O-rings individually at the auto parts store for about $1 a piece, or you can just get a whole kit. This is about $7 or $8 at Harbor Freight for 400 pieces. And believe me, I bought these individually for a while over the years. You need one, you go down and buy it for $1. And then after a while you realize it's just better to have a kit. So you just want to match up the size best you can. Oh, that's going to be that one. Alright, we're working on wiring. This is a tedious process of sorting out all the wires, making sure that all the splices are good, testing all the connections. This is the wire that goes to the generator, the alternator, and it was bad. It had a bad solder joint here, so I'm going to resolder it. And then we'll wrap it in some shrink wrap, heat shrink, and put it back together. Let those solder points cool, and then we'll put this heat wrap, this shrink wrap over the connections and Those wires are as good as new. Alright, here's a life hack I taught myself a few years ago. If you're attaching fasteners, nuts, and bolts on a car, especially if it's older, it's got rust and grime, you want to zap them with a little bit of lubricant. That prevents galling and makes the bolt not skip a thread or strip itself out. But what I've been using lately is whipping cream. And the reason I've been using this is because it's quite a bit cheaper than WD-40. It's about $2 a can versus about $6. And also it has kind of the same lubricating effect as oil. And when it dries, it becomes more like a Loctite. It becomes sticky enough to keep the bolt in. And also, once you're done attaching something, cleanup is delicious. Makes it a little bit funner to work on a car. Also, when you've run out of whipping cream, you can have a little bit of fun with what's left over. Boy, this stuff always has a kick to it. Alright, back to wiring. Alright, we just finished this heat shrinking the wires for the alternator. We're going to plug it in right now. So that about does it for this episode. It's a quick one. We are making progress. In fact, you can see I've got a list here of things I have to accomplish on this car. Once I check off everything on this list, the car will almost be completely done. Probably a few random odds and ends that we'll have to finish up, but I'm down to having a list of taped to the wall of things I need to accomplish, and then we will be driving this thing in circles. Anyway, check back next week for the next episode. Bye.